Hey everybody, CLARKSIDE here. Today I'm going to weigh in on what I think of the Call of Duty trailer that dropped just before the weekend, and speculate on whether it'll be a game changer or not. Now, before I start, I'm going to confess I'm not the biggest Call of Duty fan these days. I was back in the day, but for me the series really peaked with Modern Warfare 1 and 2. Whenever a new title comes out, I usually play the campaign over at a friend's house, have a bit of a dabble with the multiplayer, and decide whether or not it's worth dropping my hard-earned cash for. Okay, call me a Call of Duty hipster if you must. I've been called worse. Moving on. Rather than dwell on the negative shit that turned me off of the series, let's have a look at a few things that have caught my attention this time around. For starters, Kevin, mother panty dropping Spacey. This dude has a lot of artistic integrity. He doesn't tend to do stuff just because the paycheck's good. It's refreshing to see a different kind of villain that isn't your typical Middle Eastern waging a holy war on the infidels or a crazy Russian trying to stage a coup. This idea of a private military corporation going bad is an idea that Sledgehammer is really trying to sell as being quite feasible. They've made a short film with Vice, a quote-unquote documentary if you will, that briefly looks at PMCs as they exist today, and it raises all sorts of questions about who are they politically aligned to, who regulates them, and sets the groundwork for a world as it exists in Advanced Warfare, which is set in 2054. I'm going to run back through the video and pick out some freeze frames. For number one, our first shot of the trailer is of this exoskeleton, very much like what we've seen in Elysium and in the forthcoming Tom Cruise film, Edge of Tomorrow. From what we've seen in the trailer, this isn't just window dressing, as it at least features in the single player campaign, with all sorts of enhanced strength, high jumps, long jumps, wall climbing, but more of that later. The probability of this appearing in the multiplayer? I'll give that a 6 out of 10. For number two, we see our future man dropping down his visor here. I guess this is teasing at some kind of vision modes. Night vision and infrared are pretty old hat now. We're seeing a lot more wall hack type vision modes in first person shooters these days, and that is teased later in the trailer. Probability of appearing in multiplayer? I'll give that an 8 out of 10. Number 3, the first of many augmented jumping shots. So we know from this shot that Seattle, or at the very least the Golden Gate Bridge, is featured in the game. I will despair if this jumping mechanic doesn't feature in the multiplayer somehow. Infinity Ward and Treyarch have played it safe for too long with how multiplayer mechanics work with Call of Duty. I hope with this being Sledgehammer's first title where they've got full control of the project, that they spice things up a bit rather than just reskin last year's game with new maps and guns. Probability of appearing in multiplayer? 5 out of 10. Number 4, jet bikes! Really cool looking, but purely for campaign mode I should imagine. Probability of appearing in multiplayer? 1 out of 10, and that's being generous. I just have this foolish hope that it could feature in some kind of parallel universe where each and every Call of Duty release is a bold step forward and not the same game. Anyway, I've slammed COD enough for its unoriginality already. Number 5, cloaking! With the setting of Advanced Warfare, we're far enough in the future for cloaking to be a thing. With this ability being a feature in other FPSs, I rate this featuring as some kind of point streak quite highly. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. For number 6, I'm going to call this the wall hack grenade. We see our future man throw out a grenade that emits some kind of infrared scanning thingy that reveals players behind walls when he aims down sight. With recent titles like Titanfall and Blacklight Retribution managing to balance a feature like this without it being too game-breaking, I'll rate this a 6.5 out of 10. Number 7, more jumping! Okay, we get it. We play as a cybernetic frogman. I know I've already featured jumping, but seeing as this is the second time in the video now, I'm going to crank that rating up from 6 out of 10 to 7 out of 10. Number 8, the mech suit. All my days. I love the design of this. It looks like the Juggernaut from Modern Warfare and a Gundam suit had a love child. I'm sure Japan right now is all like, "Bitch please, we do mech so wrong time." I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. Number 9, the wall climbing. It looks like this might be a scripted event, seeing as there would never really be a reason for you to gawp at your hands unless it was building up to some kind of quick timing event, kind of like the ice climbing segment at the beginning of Modern Warfare 2. I really enjoy the verticality of Titanfall, but I'd never imagine that that's the direction that Sledgehammer would be taking the pacing of this game. Having to sacrifice your weapon briefly to scale a wall would keep the game balanced and wouldn't deviate too far from the COD playstyle that people are used to. I'll give this a 5 out of 10. Moving on now to number 10, deployable cover. This is a pretty neat idea. It looks like some kind of portable Kevlar or graphene sheet that can be unrolled to provide cover wherever you or your comrades need it. Seeing as there's been riot shields in previous titles, I'll give this an optimistic 9 out of 10. An honourable mention goes to the spider tank. Spider tank, does whatever a spider can, apart from spin a web, or actually quite a lot of things that spiders and Spider-Man does. Anyway, I'm going to give this a zilcho out of 10. So that's my run through of some of the features I picked out from the trailer. I hope it's not all just cutscene fluff, and at the very, very least, some of it, maybe 1 or 2 features, kick down the door to multiplayer and give us all an online experience unlike anything we've played in a Call of Duty title before. Join me in my next part, where I talk about why this game might be a slight against Respawn and Titanfall. Until next time, I want to thank you all for watching, be a dude, and drop 10 likes each down below. What's that? YouTube will only let you click that like button once? That's all good. Every like is appreciated. See you soon, YouTubers.